After 50 hours with Deadzone Rogue, I fought, dodged, died and repeated more times than I can count. But the question is, was it all worth it? Today I'm giving my honest, no BS review of this indie roguelike. I'm JammyGiraffe, and if you're wondering whether Deadzone Rogue is the next hidden gem in your roguelike library, just another sci-fi shooter that doesn't quite hit the mark, stick around. This game surprised me in more ways than one. Hit that like and subscribe, and let's get into it. Let's start with what I was actually doing for 50 hours and talk about the core loop. At its core, Deadzone Rogue is an FPS meets procedurally generated linear dungeon crawler. You're sticking down one particular path. You don't have particular choices, it's just room to room. You're a slick cyber combatant, battling through derelict space stations, blasting rogue AI droids, upgrading on the fly, and trying to survive increasingly chaotic runs. You can upgrade your primary, secondary, and melee weapon, of which there are many, as well as your grenades and armor, broken down into 4 areas: helmet, chest, gloves, and boots. You're given a choice of augment and 3 perk trees, each with 3 skill points to make your build, all depending on the challenge of course. Some will give you more options than others. The core loop is fast, satisfying, and surprisingly addictive. The moment-to-moment gameplay feels great, with fluid controls, snappy weapon feedback, and tight hitboxes. It's one of those games where you die and instantly hit retry without even thinking. And this is one of my big takes on this game. They have got the difficulty balance just right, particularly in the later stages, or harder difficulties at least. It's just difficult enough to be challenging, but not so easy that it's just a complete pushover. And what this means is when you do fail, you're itching to go again to get that challenge done. It pushes you and kind of pulls you to keep you in the game and keep you going at the same time. Now let's talk about the progression, and this is where things get interesting. There's both meta progression and there's run-based upgrades, and honestly, this is where the game really shines and stumbles at times. During each run, you're picking up random gear, choosing between perks and adapting on the fly. It's got that roguelike flair, but while 2 runs don't feel quite the same, sometimes they aren't different enough, particularly in the fact the game is broken down into 3 zones. Each zone has a certain amount of challenges, each with 5 different difficulties, which gives a lot of replayability, but I think one area that lets this game down is the fact that when completing Zone 1, you unlock superior items, which are new items you can pick up between rooms, which give different ways to adapt your build. And they are awesome fun. They add so much flavour, but you can only use these in Zone 2 onwards. So replaying Zone 1 can become a little bit tedious because you haven't got that additional flair, but you still want to go back and finish all the difficulties off on Zone 1, and they can be a little bit of a chore. But it is worth noting this game is obviously in early access still, and as such, Zone 3 is still not live, but they are adding a lot to this game progressively, with new weapons recently added. We've got weapon skins now, better multiplayer UI, and even wave modes, and these have all been a really good addition so far. Multiplayer co-op in this game is fantastic, and it needed a better UI, a better way to share gear, and they heard us and did it. The challenges or levels do vary quite drastically between the zones. You have a 50 room progression, simply getting harder and harder. You've got a 20 zone ranged only as an example, or snipers only, or close combat with shotguns and knives only. They have a fresh feel, which is nice, and an additional challenge that means that you have to play a bit different. But after 50 hours, the cracks do start to show. Some upgrades feel a little samey. There are a few builds that are flat out better than others. Don't get me wrong, I think all builds in this are fairly well balanced and are viable, but there are some standouts that I specifically don't choose, rather than standouts that I go out of my way to get. There are some items that just don't seem like they fit the bill for anything. I'd love to see some more build diversity in the late game. Right now it's easy to default to the same things that seem like safe choices, rather than looking at these items that maybe don't have that much of a benefit, but maybe there are some builds that work with them. But with Zone 3 will come something called synergies. We don't know what they will bring. However, the downside is they're likely only going to be available in Zone 3 onwards. Hopefully this is a change that they make to just make it so that when you complete Zone 1, you unlock the superior items. And when you finish Zone 2, you unlock the synergies. But they should then be used in all zones to help with those higher difficulties. At least that's my opinion. As for the art, sound, atmosphere, aesthetically, Deadzone Rogue nails the mood. It has some obvious inspiration from the Star Wars style droids, but the game does look amazing for what it is. The art feels gritty, detailed, and fairly alive. The lighting and colours evolve as you get deeper into different zones, and I think the soundtrack doesn't get in the way, but there's nothing to write home about at the same time, while the sound effects are actually really great and chunky. Okay, real talk, we've got to remember this is early access, so what about the bugs? Well, Deadzone Rogue honestly does have a few bugs, but they're really far and few between in my opinion. I think I've come across a few instances where AI are getting stuck, moving around something, but I can probably count those on one hand. I've got a couple of times where I've had issues where I complete a challenge in multiplayer and for some reason it doesn't save your progression, but that could have been user error, maybe we left too early, something like that. However, I feel like that save should be fairly automatic, so I kind of sway on the side that that was a bug. Not gonna lie though, there hasn't been any BS. There haven't been moments where I felt like the game has kind of screwed me over in any way, shape or form. I think for a game in early access, this is pretty polished. There aren't that many bugs. Now, I have had a few people report, and one of my friends who was playing it definitely reported that the game can be a bit demanding on your system, which it really shouldn't be. I haven't personally found that. However, I know this friend in question, they have a brand new PC. I think they've got a 5080. And it actually crashed their PC at one point. However, hands up, that is, that's second hand. I haven't experienced that myself, but I know they did for sure. All in all, though, I think the game runs really well. Don't think it's got many bugs. And for a game that's still in early access at its particular price point, I think it's pretty good. So after 50 hours, what's the final verdict? Well, Deadzone Rogue is solid. It has addictive roguelike, fast combat, and a killer vibe. It doesn't reinvent the genre in any way, but it absolutely understands what makes a roguelike fun, and it's really doubled down on those parts that are important. It's not perfect. It needs more variety, some tuning on the late game balancing, and a bit of polish here and there. But that said, for the price and the experience, I absolutely recommend it. If you're into sci-fi shooters and roguelikes, this hits the spot. So I'm going to give my verdict on a 10-point scale, and I'm going to nick Kinda Funny's 10-point scale if you know them. They have a 10-point scale as shown on screen, which runs from masterpiece down to Gollum, referencing the Gollum game. I would give it an 8. Now, I should reference as well, in this 10-point scale, you can do 0.5s, but I think this is a great game. It knows what it is and it does it well. It is in early access and it's only £20, so I think it's a damn bargain personally. I think when the Zone 3 is added and there are some additional challenges, this is really going to hit the mark, and it should be a game in your library if you're a roguelike lover. If you've played Deadzone Rogue, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Did you stick with it as long as I did, or did it burn you out too fast? I mean, me personally, I'm probably going to continue playing it. I think I've probably got some more time in it. There's a few challenges I haven't done. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if this review has helped you out. Please share as well. And if you're into roguelikes in any way, shape or form, I've got a playlist of hidden gems and deep dive reviews, as well as a lot of tips. Please check it out here. Next week, I'm going to be doing an in-depth review of Windblown. I've been JammyGiraffe, sending love and positivity as always. See you in your next runs. Jammy out.